in this Facebook campaign that I'm setting up, my goal is to get registrations to a webinar that I'm giving. That is my goal. I don't want to spend money if I'm not getting registrations, and I want Facebook to optimize to get the cheapest registrations possible. So I'm going to select the conversions strategy, and I'm going to come down here and name my campaign. So I usually put conversions or the campaign strategy in brackets, and it happens to be the conversion rate. Now you have two more options here. You can create a split test. So you could A/B test creative, placement, audience, and delivery optimization strategies. I'm going to choose to leave that off. And if I want to come back and run some split tests, I'll run some split tests with different ad sets. And I could also choose campaign budget optimization. And this I do want to turn on. So you have the option of setting ad set level budgets like that in Google Ads. Those are like your ad groups. What we found is that when you have campaign budget optimization, CPO, when you have it turned on, Facebook does a better job at getting you your conversions for cheaper, faster. I'm going to set my campaign daily budget to $2,500 for now. I'll probably come back and change that. And campaign bid strategy, this is important. You have three different options. You have lowest cost with bid cap, and target cost. If you're starting a new campaign from scratch, 9 times out of 10, you want to keep it to lowest cost, and Facebook is going to do a good job at getting that cost lower and lower. And as I'm going to repeat many times throughout this lecture, it's important that you let things run and you give the algorithm time to find the cheapest possible conversions within your daily budget. When I first launched a campaign recently, we were getting registrations at $19, and then within 3 days they came down to $2 or $3, right? So that's like a massive, massive decrease, and it shows that Facebook does a good job at getting you those conversions for cheaper over time. You have to really let things go without touching it and without messing around with it too much. So I'm going to keep it on the lowest cost. Now, I'm just interested in running a test to see that if I select a target cost, and I'm going to have the option of at the ad set level putting in the target cost per conversion. If I put in like 50 cents in there, like my goal is to get these registrations at somewhere between $1 and $2.50. But if I put 50 cents in there with a high daily budget, what would happen? So I'm going to run a split test. I'll duplicate my campaign later. Once I'm done creating the campaign, I'll duplicate the campaign and I'm going to run a split test. But for now, I'm going to choose lowest cost. Once you've chosen lowest cost, Facebook lets you know that ad scheduling will be done at the ad set level. I'm not going to schedule my ads, delivery type standard, and once you click more options, you'll see that the accelerated option is not possible when you're using this type of bid strategy. So I'm going to click continue, and that's basically it. Like, this is a pretty simple page. You're just going to name your campaign something that you'll know what it is. You'll choose your optimization option. If you're not sure, if your goal is to get conversions, always choose the conversion. So if you're looking to generate phone calls or form submissions or sales or whatever it may be, just choose the conversion optimization strategy. It's the one that works best. And don't bother trying to overthink which all these ones are. And maybe if you do the brand awareness, you'll end up getting more conversions. Like, I could just tell you from a lot of data, the conversions optimization strategy works best. So we're going to click continue. And now we're in the ad set creation. And again, you could have your ad set name, and there's a bunch of different ways to name your ad sets. Because I'm going to be doing the same age range and same targeting, I'm not going to include age range or locations in the ad set name. So if you're running ad sets, and some ad sets are you're targeting people, men and women 18 to 50, and some you're targeting men and women 35 to 40, you could identify that in your ad set name if that's the main difference. But just for naming conventions purposes, I would suggest the primary difference between ad sets being put in the name. So lookalike audience. So I know that this audience is going to be made up of a lookalike audience, and I'm going to call this live webinar. So I have an audience that I'm going to upload it as a lookalike audience of people who attended my live webinar. I think I have around 12 or 1,300 of those. And I'm not going to go into detail as I do that, because I do have another video in the Agency Overdrive membership that talks about lookalike audiences. So I'm just going to race through that. I'll probably speed up this video by about 20 times when I get to that part. Now Facebook asks you to set up your conversion pixel, like what action you want Facebook to be optimizing for. So by default, it's selected purchase. I already have tags set up on my pages. And again, this is not a video specifically about the pixel, so I'm not going to go super in depth about it, but I don't want to track purchases. What I want to do is track a completed registration, and it shows me with the green button that this is active and the last event was 3 hours ago. So I'm going to select completed registration, and you could only choose one conversion action to optimize off of. So I'm going to optimize off of completed registrations. And over here is very important. You want to turn dynamic creative on, and this is going to affect the entire ad set. So you're going to be able to, run through that. We don't need to do that right now. Okay. So that's very important. In order to run dynamic creative, which is what the bulk of this video is going to be focused on, you have to toggle this on at the ad set level. Now we go ahead and create our audience. And this is not super important right now because this could always be changed. We're not activating these campaigns yet, but I'm going to use a saved audience that I have here. And if I click into this box, I'll see the lookalike audiences that I've uploaded in the past. And if I scroll down, I see a list of all my previous lookalike audiences. So this one's going to be the LP webinar attendees. So I have 3 to 4%, 1 to 2%. And again, if you're interested in what these all mean, like the 1 to 2%, 4 to 5%, I encourage you to watch my video on lookalike audiences. I explain in detail what all these mean. So I'll take, I'll take this one for this one, and I'll take 1 to 2%, right? So that's a lot of people on these audiences. And I'm going to choose everyone in the United States. I'm also going to select Australia. I'm going to select United Kingdom. And that's probably it. I think I'm just going to do US, Australia, United Kingdom. And if you go down here, if you zoom out, you can sort of see worldwide what you've selected. I've tested a lot of Canadian traffic with these audiences before, and the CPAs were very expensive. I've tested Mexico. The CPAs were very, very low, but the engagement levels, the turnout rate to the webinar was very low as well. So I took out Mexico, and we could always add Mexico back in if I want to. But I'm actually thinking to recreate my funnel in Spanish, or to have at least Spanish captions on my videos and things like that, which would help. So for ages, I want to target anyone between the ages of, let's say, 18. I don't want to go, this is like, I probably want to do something like 18 to 45, I would say. And I'm going to do all, gender all, language English all, and detail targeting. Now, because I have, this is just a lookalike audience, live webinar attendees, maybe I'll do, I could do 1 to 3% to signify which audiences that I've chosen, but I'm not going to do that for now. So I have a lookalike audience, and in my next ad set, once I start duplicating my ad sets, I'm going to do additional lookalike audiences, do a whole bunch of different cool things, but I'm not going to do anything with that right now. Include people who match at least one of the following. This is where you could choose additional targeting. Let's say if you have an interest in online advertising or things related to your seminar, you could search. You could choose. You could see suggestions. You could browse for different ideas. But I'm going to do that once I duplicate my first ad set. For this ad set, I want to just be targeting my lookalike audience. I could save this audience, but Facebook sort of saves them for me already. I'm going to choose automatic placements. Okay, so this is another important thing. A lot of people will come into Facebook ads and they'll start editing their placements. They'll be like, oh, I don't want to show up in stories. I don't want to show up in the Instagram feed. I don't want to show up in interstitial ads, right? I strongly suggest you don't start playing around like that. That's no longer the value proposition you have to your clients, and it's no longer a good idea. We've seen over and over again that automatic placements perform better. If your goal, unless there's some very, very specific reason why you just cannot be advertising in certain placements, then err on the side of trusting Facebook's automation to get you the best possible results. Like there are it's very possible that overall the Facebook mobile newsfeed will perform better than Instagram stories. But again, that goes into making decisions for the group as opposed to making decisions for the individual. Facebook will know that this person tends to convert from Instagram stories, and they'll show the right ad to that right person to optimize for the lowest possible CPA, to optimize for the lowest possible cost per conversion. Facebook has enough data to optimize for the individual, and they don't have to optimize for the group. If you start making decisions about placements, you're making decisions for the group. So I'm going to choose automatic placements, and I'm going to optimize for ad delivery, which is going to be conversions, of course. We're not going to change that. And over here, this is important. So after clicking ad, always do 1 day click. Because I don't want to get too bogged down in conversion attribution and conversion windows. But basically, if you choose 1 day click or view or 7 day click or 1 day view, you're basically allowing Facebook to give credit to a Facebook impression for a conversion. So for example, say you're trying to target, say you're trying to get form submissions, right? So you show a Facebook ad to somebody on Facebook, and then they happen to do a Google, they don't click your ad, right? They're just scrolling through, they see your ad, they don't click it. Then they happen to do a Google search and they find your company name. That might be 5 days later, or even within the same day, and they click the ad and they submit a form. Facebook will say that you got a conversion. So we don't want to, in most cases, you don't want to track view through conversions. You only want to track click through conversions. And because this is a webinar funnel and 100% of webinar registrants will sign up after clicking the ad, I want to choose 1 day click. If you have if you're asking for if you're sending people to a main page of your website, let's say there's just to the contact page of your website and you have a form, then you probably want to choose 7 day click, because it's very possible that somebody will go to a contact page, not fill out the form yet, but then 2 days later, they'll decide, okay, I'm ready to do it now. They'll come back to they'll come back to your website. They might have had it saved. They'll fill out the form, and you should attribute that conversion back to the original click that you paid for on Facebook. But in my purposes, since I'm doing a webinar funnel, I'm going with 1 day click, and I'm going to be getting charged by an impression. Everything at the ad set level looks okay. And one more thing, when you're running dynamic creative, you actually can't set schedules. I forgot about that. When you're running dynamic creative, you can't set day parting schedules. Your ads will run all the time, because Facebook's basically saying, like, listen, if you want us to be figuring out the best placements and the best variations of text and headlines and calls to action and video and images, we need the ability to run your ads all the time. Fair enough. Like, that's okay with me. So we're going to continue here. And we've basically finished setting up our ad set. One more thing, and I've mentioned this in other videos, don't worry about this gauge, right? It says potential reach fewer than 1,000 people. A second ago, it said my potential reach was 4 million people, and that might have happened when it was maybe this attribution. Right, see that? It went to 4 million people. But that makes no sense, because the amount of potential reach is based on all this stuff up here, my lookalike audiences, the percentages that I'm taking, my age ranges, my gender, location. It's not based on how I want to attribute conversion. So this is just a weird system. So don't worry if you see this go down to being too specific. It'll change later on. So we're going to continue. We've made our ad set. Now this is where the bulk of the work we're going to do has to happen. And you could either close this out and do it later in the ad set. That's fine. But we're going to do the work here. So my goal is to upload a few different videos, some images, and then have multiple different texts and headlines for Facebook to mix and match. And that's what's happening in Dynamic Creative. Facebook is taking multiple videos, multiple images, and they're going to mix image 1 with text 3, then they'll mix text 2 with video 4, or whatever it may be. And they're going to learn which combination of elements are working the best for which visitors. Facebook claims that every variation will be shown at least once, which is fine. But then Facebook is going to start weighing which variations they show based on the data that's coming in. And there's actually a cool way to see the breakdown of which variations Facebook's showing the most and which variations are getting the best results. And you can see exactly which results each variation is generating. So I'm going to name this ad set real quick. I'm just going to call this Dynamic Creative, because I'm just going to have one Dynamic Creative component or one Dynamic Creative asset in every single ad set. And we're going to scroll down here. Now we're going to start adding images and video. So I want to talk about this for a couple seconds. With video, there's a few different considerations. If you click over into this toggle, Facebook will give you some of these recommendations. So they recommend videos not longer than 15 seconds because 15-second videos get the most placements. With a video that's more than 15 seconds cannot be shown on Facebook stories,